No more clickbait, no more sound bites, and no more videos that are over before you blink. No more being told to click this or to share that because some people think you can't think. Choose a new way of doing things. Choose real people. Choose real stories. Choose the Real Talks podcast. Michael Quinn did something so many young people dream of when he became a professional sportsman and signed for Aussie Rules outfit Essendon. Plucked from Longford as an 18-year-old, he still holds the record for the fastest conversion from GAA to AFL starter, ahead of the likes of Tadhg Kennelly, Marty Clarke and most recently Kerry's Mark O'Connor. Incredibly, Michael made his debut in round 2 of the 2009 league after just one pre-season. His stint in Australia ended after 3 years, but he has since become a leading figure for Longford and one of the most respected GA figures in the land. Now 27 years of age, he talks openly and honestly about those achievements and what it was like to return to Ireland after experiencing such extreme highs at a young age. This podcast is brought to you thanks to the support of Kelly Bradshaw Dalton, who for over 20 years have been successfully selling, renting and managing property in the Greater Dublin area. Be sure to check out their website at kbd.ie, that's kbd.ie. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this conversation, please do subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher or SoundCloud. We've already had over 21,000 plays and been listened to in well over 50 countries, and we'd love for you to join our online family. My name is Alan O'Mara, and you are listening to episode 8 of the Real Talks podcast.
Wexford await for the winners at Dayton Croke Park. Longford have been there already this year. Here's Michael Quinn. What about that from Quinn? A wonderful score. And Longford draw level.
Mickey, just obviously thanks a million for coming on to the podcast. Delighted to be here with you today. Said over the last couple of weeks it's been so interesting to chat to different lads, footballers and hurlers, just getting an understanding of their lifestyle, what it takes to get to where they are and why they do it and their love of it. To kick off this interview, and in the interest of transparency, I was going to clear up something because I don't even know if you'll remember this, but this is not the first time I've interviewed you.
Over the phone?
Yeah, do you remember it?
So. Jeez, this is ringing a bell now.
I interviewed you for DIT News back in 2009.
Yes. That was you.
Yeah, that was me. That gobshite. But so it was my first year in college, and you had actually just left the college, and I was going to kick off the interview just by starting around that time. So I gave you a shout in 2009. I think you were just home from your first season in Australia. And I read the whole piece. I have printed it off here and you can take it away with you. It's an absolute masterpiece. But let's start there because you were plucked from Longford as an 18-year-old to move to Australia, to Essendon, professional football contract. Obviously a huge move. And I suppose, how did that come about initially, or tracing that back now?
Yeah, it probably started off in my last year minor. I said I was in college in DIT, and I said I'm going to give soccer a crack that year.
Right.
And I had given up Gaelic football. I said, start of January, I said, no, I'm focusing on the soccer. I was playing with Bohemians under 17s
okay,
or 18s that year. I said, look, I'm going to focus on the soccer. And then as the year went on, I kind of said, I tried out for the fresher team in DIT. I said, look, all the friends were doing it, so I might as well. So got roped in playing a little bit of ball with them, and I kind of thought, this is all right. I'll kind of do this on the QT, and then slowly got back in with the minors, and from there went on, and we had a good year with freshers. We won the freshers and got asked down to trials in Limerick for, I think it was Carlton, and Ian Ryan from Limerick, and there's a few other guys from Clare down at it, and got asked to go over for a 2-week trial to Australia,
right,
with Ian, and two of us went over for 2 weeks in, I think it was August, packed the bag, sun cream and all, shorts, the whole lot,
to sun cream.
went out and got off the plane in Melbourne. I was like, Jesus, it's cold, what's going on here? Middle of winter, so
right.
didn't do the research there. But no, it went really well, and got offered a contract from that, and said, look, this is what I was kind of looking for from the soccer side of things. And I just look, why not? Let's give it a go for 2 years. It was a 2-year contract. I said, let's just go hammer and tongs at it for 2 years. If it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Still worked out what, I was only gone 18. So if it didn't work out, it was 20. It could always come back to college or come back. I was going to be young. So gave it a lash and, yeah, didn't look back from then.
Yeah, you mentioned there that you'd made a decision that you were going to go the soccer route or try and explore that probably in more detail. But obviously you've been playing Gaelic football the whole way up. So if you had that love for Gaelic football, was the ambition in you to try and be a pro sportsman? Is that something that you really wanted for yourself?
I think so. I think I loved the idea of getting up and going training first thing in the morning and coming home and just being finished in the evening like that. Your day's work was done, and that was your work.
Yeah.
It was what you'd love doing. Like whether it would be soccer, Gaelic, tennis, whatever it was, I would have done it. Just that lifestyle. I kind of thought, I think you get the best out of yourself in that kind of environment. And I think that's what I would have picked up from Australia. Like even see it now with Gaelic football at the moment. Like you're just juggling job, lifestyle, commuting, family, friends, everything's going on. Whereas when you roll that into your job is that like, yeah. You know, you can get that extra 10, 15, 20% out of yourself. And that's what I think I got with the AFL.
Even still, so you're 18 when you make that decision to go. And also it's exciting. There's a pro contract on the table and you're buzzing for that. Was it a difficult decision to make, or were you just adamant that I have to go and do this?
Not really, because looking back on it now, I've even talked with family. I sat down with mum and dad and brother and sister and was like, will I, won't I? And you're kind of like, it never was, no, I'm not going to do it. It was always, yeah, right, let's do it. Because I think I was naive and young. If I was 21 and offered a contract, I think I'd sit and
wait up
I'm not too sure. Like, you know, if this happens, then, you know, maybe not. But no, I think that naivety was what got me there in the first place, and even probably helped me do well in my first and second year out there. Just being able to give it a lash and not look back. That carefree young mentality.
Yeah, because I remember when I read that masterpiece that I wrote back in 2009, and there's one of the quotes that just sort of stuck out to me was you said it was a really hard decision, but it was one of them things where if I didn't try it, I think in a few years I would have always regretted it.
Yeah.
I suppose, is that still to this day the truth? Like,
I think so. And then you kind of look back at the 3 years and, you know, have you any regrets coming home? Like, and I think you'll always have, I wouldn't say regrets, but you'll always think, oh, maybe if a little bit of a sway one way or the other, something might have changed. But I don't think so. I think things kind of unfolded the way they did, and it kind of fell into place for the better for myself to be coming home after the 3 years. Like, but no, definitely no regrets in heading out.
So when you leave the country at 18, what's your sort of exposure been to Gaelic football at that stage? Has it been underage with Longford, club football? Where are you at? And obviously you played college first year with freshers. Yeah,
probably that freshers year I was asked up to the DIT Sigerson team that year, and I think it was when County Minor finished. I think we lost the Leinster semi-final to Meath at minor, and I think Luke Dempsey was the senior manager that year, and he asked me up to the senior panel as well. But it was a once-off game. I think they were in the qualifiers against Laois, and it was the week before, and I think against my better judgment I kind of said, just too much going on. Like, it'd be only going in for the sake of it for a short stint, and I kind of didn't feel like it was the right thing, and so I declined that. But that was as far as I had gone, was up to county minor level.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, it was, you know, you've made that jump from minor straight to senior, which probably took me the O'Byrne Cup and the few league games to probably find your feet in it, like, which I was surprised coming back. Like, fitness wise, you kind of think, yeah, this is, I'm going to be flying around the place. But when you're slogging through muck and everything in January and that, it's a different ball game.
I'll come back to that decision of coming home and that integration back into Longford and even just the Irish society. But I suppose in contrast to that muck and that slogging, what's your headspace like as an 18-year-old walking down the steps of a plane and in Australia going, I'm here? Like, where's your mind at that stage?
Well, the big thing was, where's my fucking bag? Like, I got off the plane, first trip over to Melbourne, and how many stops was there? I think it went London, Bangkok, Melbourne.
This is the trip over for the actual move you're going over?
This is contract signed, heading over for pre-season, starting in a couple of days' time, and arrive and standing waiting at the carousel for the bag to come out. Everyone's picking up theirs, moving on. No sign of anything coming, and nothing. I was like, oh, bollocks, what's going on here now? So I stood for a good half hour looking.
No sign.
No sign. So went over to the Qantas desk, and my bag hasn't came out. So I filled out a form, and they were good enough to provide me with a toilet bag with a pair of pyjamas and a toothbrush. So I arrive out to a guy from the club who's collecting me with a Qantas bag, with a toothbrush, a face cloth, and a pair of pyjamas, and a bit of carry-on
luggage.
All set. You're travelling light. I said, yeah, bag never came. So yeah, he brought me back to the family I was staying with. It was a Tyrone family that was staying with, and they were the same. I was like, oh. So arriving into a house with no bag, and so the first few days were a bit manic, waiting on that. But yeah, it was it just added to it. Like,
it's obviously extreme novelty, and it probably is in one way. It mightn't have been the dream that you had planned, but it is still the dream. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah.
But what's that sort of whirlwind like then of settling in and trying to bed into that lifestyle?
Yeah, like, it kind of, looking at it now, it's kind of like, geez, it's difficult how I actually done it.
You're a long way out of your comfort zone there, like.
But I think when you're young and you're just carefree and you're going after it, like, you're living you've decided to live with a family that you've never met before, you decide to fly halfway around the world and play a sport that you've never played before with a group of 40, 50 guys you've never met before. And then it starts to further down the line that naivety, you start to see later on then, maybe these guys might be a little bit resentful because you're an Irish guy and they're Australian, and, do they actually want you here? Are they going to support you? Like, you get a little sense of that.
You would have had those
I kind of thought further down the line you kind of get that, but you're kind of selfish, and I think that is the thing with most sports people, that you kind of have to be selfish, and you're not worrying about what others are thinking of you. You're kind of worrying about yourself, and that's it. If I'm playing well and I get a spot in the team, it's because I done that, not because poor him, or he's unlucky to miss out. You take your spot when you get a chance, and I think that was, you kind of flip from one side to the other. Sometimes you're being selfish and you're solely driven on that, and then other times maybe when you step back and you're looking and you're like, that's that seed of doubt in your head, and maybe that's not a good place to be either. So it's trying to find that balance.
Yeah, and even like in reference to that balance there, like I said, you're a very young man, you're completely out of your comfort zone. You're in a different world, really. Like, are you coming in your own head and just trying to get a better understanding of what the mindset is like at that stage? Are you thinking like great opportunity, experience a different country, a different culture? Or are you coming with the blinkers on going, I have to make this? Like,
I think I was just the blinkers were on so much that it was kind of like, give me the ball, I want the ball.
Literally.
I want to kick that. And then as it kind of went on, because you've never played the game and you're playing with guys that have played it since they were 3 and 4 years old, you have to have something different. And I kind of, the more I played, the more I realised that you kind of had to have something different to make you on a level par with them, because your skills aren't probably going to be up to scratch as good. Yeah. Fitness, fitness is fitness. You're only going to be getting a couple of % either way there. So it's your decision making, or
where are you on the strength side out of interest?
Pardon?
Where are you on the strength side?
The strength, not really. But that was something I discovered over there, that I was always a full forward before I headed over.
Right.
And when I went over and started doing all this fitness training, 400s and 800s, I was testing. My second year, I was probably top 5 fittest at the club. I was like, I never knew at this base before.
You didn't know, like?
I was quick. That's all I did. I can run quick. That's it. Yeah, I'll run and I'll sprint quick.
Okay.
So I started finding this
discovered
fitness
that
base. Yeah. So that's why I kind of turned into a utility player when I came back out around the middle. But it's something that you needed, that flair. So unexpectedness, what you're going to do with the ball. This Irish guy, what's he going to do?
Okay.
But then as time goes on, it's like be predictable to your teammates, but unpredictable to that position. You're like, okay. And you start to overthink these things. I think that's probably where the tactics side of things and that being predictable, you fall away from that flair and that naivety that got you where you were. And that's what I kind of felt, that probably playing structure. And I think Gaelic football has gone very similar too. Like, I think on a team of 15, you have 2 or 3 flair players. The rest are kind of play to structure, don't make percentage on the ball. But at the end of the day, it's the flair players that will do something that will win you the game or possibly lose you. But it's a better position to be in rather than sitting back and getting 5 minutes from the end of the game and saying, oh, we better do something now. So I'd like to consider myself maybe one of those flair players that will try and make something happen rather than be safe.
And at the start, you're obviously picking up a new game. It's a huge transition, but being given that sort of freedom and abandon, did that suit your sort of your mentality, and did it make it sort of more enjoyable in a way?
I think so. Like, and I made my debut round 2, so I was kind of just thrown in at the deep end, and expectation, just go out and enjoy it. Just getting the ball and do what you do, running off the half-back line and give and go. And I played it like it was Gaelic football. I popped it, went for a return, and it worked. Just selling dummies, into your second, third game when they're not buying it, they know you inside out, then you're like, oh, right, I can't do that again. But you learn quickly in that environment.
You touched upon and you mentioned the debut there, because I think you're obviously, there's a whole lot going on. You're in a new country. You went to pre-season. You said you've got the blinkers on and you're sort of you're going after this, but you sort of take to it like a duck to water, and it probably does that debut come quicker than you expected it to? Probably
because I just was solely focused on getting up, going training, and getting up playing games. I didn't even think about it. Like, everyone kind of says, oh, when you set your goals at the start of the year, when are you hoping to make your debut? I was like, I wanted to play a game as soon as possible, and that was it. Like, I wasn't setting the marker around mid-season or in my first year. It was like,
ASAP.
I'm just going to play and do as well as I can and just go with it from there. So yeah, it did come quicker. And looking back on it, was it a help or a hindrance? It's hard to know. Like, I probably played round 2, and then the following week I got a vomiting bug and missed out in round 3, and I was included for round 4 after that. And parents had flown over for that game, but I still wasn't right. Energy levels were drained and everything, and had a stinker of a game. And then it was kind of like, he's just not ready. So I was put back then for the next 10, 12 weeks into the second team in VFL and try and get the form back up again. And then got in for 3 or 4 games towards the end of the year and played a finals game as well. So, like, it was a great finish. But I kind of done things backwards. It was 6 games in my first year, 2 in my second, none in my last, which is, am I going improving or getting worse here?
Like, because to put this into context for anyone that's listening, like, so you move out late 2008, so you're doing pre-season 2009, you're picking up a whole new game, you're a young Irish lad, you're playing a game you've never played before, and you make your debut in the second round of the league, professional league. It's not as if you're making your debut in a reserve league or a second thing, like, or third or fourth division, top level. And I think you hold the record for the quickest transition from GA to AFL, ahead of the likes of Tadhg Kennelly and Marty Clarke. There's loads of different factors, but I remember talking to you when we did that interview late in 2009, and you did seem You touched upon it there. You seemed sort of frustrated that there was a high and then it didn't build on from there, that it sort of came back. And was that difficult to digest?
I think so. I think that is the tough thing, that, you know, if you do have a bad day, it kind of, the fact that you're Irish is like, he's just not up to it. Like, you know, you could go out the following week and have an absolute cracker with the second team, but you might have to perform 5-6 weeks like that to say, okay, he is ready again. So that is the thing. It's your highs and lows in sports, like, and being consistent. You know, your best and your worst, there can't be a massive gap in between, or you've no consistency. And it's the same mentally then. It just drains you if that's the way, a massive high of playing well and a low of kind of not having a great game. Like, you're trying to balance that. But I think that was the tough thing with it. Games week in, week out, kind of performing, but that's what you want too. Like, you want games every week, and that's what I enjoyed too. Like, you kind of moved on and just try and build on it the next week.
On the mentally draining side, like, being there and really only being there for one particular reason, which is to play the game, whereas you've come from a place where it's probably a lot more balanced. You're in college, you're studying soccer, Gaelic, club, college, you know, there's lots of different things. Was that hard when sort of, if you become unidimensional, everyone to call it, there's just one sort of particular thing, or did you have other stuff going on around you that helped you balance it out?
That was something that I think I probably fell down on, that I didn't have enough outlets away from it. In my first year, I think that's what helped me the most. It was just solely focused on just straight in. It was the club, get up, go. Like, even days off, pop up to the club too. Like, but then second year in that, you kind of needed a different outlet. You needed, you know, you have your mid-season break there where you have a weekend off, you're finished on a Thursday, you have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And it's like, right, what am I going to do? And I stopped myself. There was a lot of guys that would have headed back to the family and do bits and pieces. And, you know,
what do you have at that stage? What are you doing?
Yeah, like, I just sat around and maybe pop into the city and do a few bits on my own. Like, whereas, wouldn't it be great if you had another network away from the club that you could build on? And that other network, I would have met up with a lot of Irish people, but it's kind of one extreme to the next. Like, the Irish that are out there and touring and travelling, and it's, you know, you're out there trying to stay away from that side of things. So it's finding that balance that can be difficult. I see Mark O'Connor making his debut today, like, so, and I think it's round 6, and like, that's phenomenal, and something that he had that not too many other Irish guys have is the 2 in the 1 club. So I think Zach Toohey there with Geelong too was a massive help. Like,
that, having the outlet or not having the outlet obviously didn't lend to a balanced lifestyle. But was there any other difficulties with that sort of move and that spell when you look back? Like, is there anything that you would say you changed, or do you have anything like that
when I was out there? Yeah, probably. It's family, being so far away from home. I think in my second year, management came at the end of my first year, came and spent, I think it was around Halloween. So in the off season, they popped down to the club for 2 days in Longford. They stayed the night and down to the local for a few pints and had a bit of fun with them, which was great. Like, I felt going into my second year now that this kind of, there's an understanding there, like, they're behind me.
You have a platform to go from as well.
And then I think it was in Christmas, came home for Christmas and flew back out in January. And I remember getting a call, I think it could have been Wednesday or Thursday morning from home, that my grandmother had passed away. I was like, oh no. So I'm miles away. What's going to happen here? Am I going to get going home? What am I going to do? So got the call at about 6:30 or 7 that morning, and we were in for, I think, match simulations or that. So the dogging session of training. So I was like, right, I'm just going to put the head down here, and done the training session, and was just spent at the end of it, and went into the player welfare officer after the session and told him, and from there he told management, and I had a flight organised through the club in the space of couple of hours. I was flying out that night at 10 o'clock. And it was just, that was the kind of environment that I came into, that the club was just, you felt that the club was behind you and supported you. I said, take the few days, fly home, be with your family. So I flew out that night and got home. It was great. And the club were behind me. So I came back out, and I'd only missed probably a week. But you're back catching up after that. Whereas in my third year, management had changed.
Okay, so
things were different then, and both my other grandparents had passed away in that year, and I didn't get going home for that. And I wouldn't say resentful for it, but you're kind of like, things were different in that year. That
this is the third year.
In my third year, that was something that swayed me. Like that club feel, that they were looking after you, or that you were on your own now, was something that kind of really crept up, that I had to deal with this stuff myself rather than they were supporting me and helping me out. So that was difficult, and it was probably a factor in helping me make my decision to come home.
Yeah, because even as you were talking there, and so obviously the previous manager has brought you out, so in a way, and I'm just reading between the lines here, you're sort of a bit of a pet project for him. It's his gamble. He's looking,
exactly.
He's giving you his debut, so there's a bit of respect and a bit of care for there. But I suppose when a new manager comes in, and even from a GA perspective, I'm trying to understand the professional.
Yeah.
Because everyone always talks about the pros of being, or the pros of being a pro, but there's also downsides. That's when a new manager comes in. Do you go back? Is it just that feeling that you're just a commodity and a piece of meat? You're just a number now again. 100%.
I would have found that, and you're kind of starting from scratch again, where it's like, okay, I have to prove myself, which, that's normal. You always have to kind of prove yourself. But it's like, where I was after coming from, I was after, in my second year, I got Player of the Year for the second team. So Player of the Year for the second team, I'm kind of expecting now I should be on a senior list contract, which never came because management had changed. So when management changed, I sat and waited, and am I going to get a contract, am I not? And I got offered a 1 year rookie contract then, so just an extension. It was like, looking back, that was probably an area that maybe if I was someone in my corner fighting for me, that I might have got a 2 year senior contract rather than just a 1 year extension. That things might have been different then.
Okay.
That's something with the change in management. But who knows?
Yeah. No, I think there's always going to be those the what ifs.
Yeah.
Just because I will move on from this phase of life now, because I know it's a couple of years ago. But just around the sort of, because I know, and I mentioned it before we started, that there's people listening to this podcast from all different parts of the world, around the homesickness aspect of it. And because obviously you remember, you mentioned the death of your grandparents, and that was probably the first time it grabbed you, or maybe it wasn't. But I suppose coming home for the Christmas, which is a time everyone would associate with coming home, and then going back, but then actually coming home again. Do you feel a pull or a drag at that stage trying to guide you home, or are you still in your head? Are you still no, I'm back?
Well, that's the hard thing, because Christmas, I always found everyone's off and it's such a good time, and it's great. Like, all you want to do is be around that, and you kind of forget when you're flying out. You're flying out fairly early in January, and people are still off, and you kind of see, oh no, geez, this is kind of it's hard leaving now, but once you get back into the swing of things, then I think the season is well laid out. That it was always broken down. You had 4 weeks in January there where it was going to be a grind, tough training,
your pre-season slog.
Yeah, but you knew then games were going to come after that, and you kind of took it in chunks like that. So if there was 4 weeks in January, then maybe you're into 4 weeks of kind of pre-season games, and then usually I'd have mum or dad or brother, sister, even girlfriend coming out to visit me then. So you're always taking things in chunks, that I'll have someone coming out visit me now, or I have a few days off in 3 or 4 weeks time, and that was kind of how I broke things down. But looking back on it, I was always trying to get to the end of the season to get home, which I don't think that's probably the right mentality to have. That you're always taking in those blocks, and then when the final block came, I was like, yes, on the plane. I was flying out 2 or 3 days after we were finished, get out there as quickly as possible, rather than enjoy the time and maybe spend a bit of time with some of the other lads.
Yes, I've two last questions on that phase. The first one is, and you mentioned the contract scenario there and an extension of the rookie contract. So people like myself at home would have been reading the newspapers at the time. You see, like Michael Quinn's he's the fastest person to make his debut from Ireland, pro contract, he's playing the AFL. People are thinking like, pro baller, money, like sort of like obviously you don't have to mention like specific numbers, but what are we talking in around that time, like financially? What, how are you set like?
Not look at it, your average wage. Obviously, because you're on a rookie contract, you're just like the rookie contracts have improved a good bit since my time. They've came on, but you're still talking just your average wage, and you're getting by with that. Like you're doing what you love, so you don't really mind. You're not making a killing on it, but when you make your games. Play your first AFL game and there's bonuses because you're on a rookie contract and you're after been stepped up to senior and you're getting a match bonus for playing a game. You're like, yes, I'm sorted now. But you play one or two, but that changes. Like, and then if you're back to your rookie contract and you had those bonuses in your first year, and you're like, hold on a minute now, I'm not doing as well as I kind of thought. So it's not when you do get past the first 2 or 3 years, like, and you move on, that's when your next contract will be, hopefully you can build on that, but I probably never got to that stage.
Okay. And the last question that I was going to ask then at that stage was, like you mentioned there, you're doing what you love. Did you love it? Or at times when the season was going difficult or there was struggles, was it harder to stay at it because it wasn't the game that you'd grown up playing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I loved the training. I loved that. I loved
the lifestyle.
Training from Monday to Saturday, and then when things got difficult, it was the games on a Saturday or Sunday that kind of made things tricky. Then you're up early on a Sunday morning. You're getting ready. It was just a long day for a game because AFL games, if the game's at 2 o'clock, you're there probably 2 hours before, so you're there at 12 o'clock. The game takes about 2.5, 3 hours, and then you have your recovery and meal after. So it's just that bit longer than GA. It's a full day, and then you're trained after it and go again. Whereas if you're getting that reward of probably playing the game that you love on the Sunday, and I did. There was times when, I loved it, but then it crept back into, it's like, this is a slog here now. You're GPS on the back and you're covering 18 kilometres or 15, 16 kilometres in a game, and you're just run. And to do that week in, week out became a bit of a chore.
Well, that's like does it become a job like?
It does, and then are you mentally strong enough to be able to do that week in, week out? Because you don't have that love. That was the tricky bit, like. But yeah, it's difficult. It's funny looking back on it.
It must seem like a lifetime ago in some ways, does it?
It does. Like, and just was that me that was doing it? Because you change and you grow up a fair bit from then.
Of course you do.
But I think it would have made me a better person off the field, experiencing that, because like to live away from home, like moving to college in Dublin the year before, it was like, geez, this is big, going to college, and then the following year, like, right, I'm off to Australia. Good luck. So it was a massive step, and it did make me stronger and better for that.
So, making you stronger and better. What's life like? What was life like integrating then, coming back home? Was that difficult in any way, or were you glad to be coming home?
I think I was glad to be coming home.
Right.
Yeah, like I think things started to get a lot more difficult with just being away from home, and probably girlfriend at home as well, and family, and you're kind of like, can I see myself? I probably didn't set myself up that, am I going to be out here? It was, right, I'm in Australia for 9 months a year, but I'm at home for the 3 months. The 3 months were kind of, so from finish up in August, September, October, end of August. So you've 8 weeks at home and then a couple of weeks at Christmas. They were the kind of ones that I was working towards. I was was living in Ireland but away in Australia kind of thing. So looking back on it, I probably didn't set myself up enough that this is where I'm going to be based.
We had actually, like in last week's episode with Noel Connors, we had a brilliant conversation around sort of identity, and his was an intercounty hurler. How is your identity and ego feeling when you're coming home and integrating back into, if it's home or in Dublin or wherever? Like, genuinely, how was that like?
Yeah, like it's, do you know, do you see yourself as, was it a success or was it a failure? And you're kind of like, I kind of always saw it as, do you know what, I have the record for the quickest debut. That's something now, and kind of I hope it's not taken away from me, but it's something that I have there.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a tough one to beat, and I done that myself with hard work and giving it a lash, and because of that, I'm kind of like, yeah, well, look, it's definitely not a failure. It's kind of just another phase in my career, sporting career, whether it be football or AFL or soccer, whatever it was just another stepping stone. So you do question yourself, just could I have stayed on for another year, or, you know, even in my third year, should I have applied myself more? But I don't think so. I think whatever path I took, it kind of steered me back home in my third year, and I was quite happy to do that. And looking back on it, I'm quite happy with what I achieved.
Sure.
It'd be always great to achieve more, but you kind of have to take the good out of it too.
Definitely. I suppose, because I think, so you make that debut, you said you have that record, and it's let there be noted about it, it's an incredible achievement. Like, but I suppose when that happens, I'd imagine texts are flying in, calls are flying in, messages are coming in from everywhere, everyone telling you you're great.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to get at is, when you come home, do you feel as if do you worry about other people's thoughts of you, or are you just in your own head at that stage?
Not really. I think the fact of being from Longford and doing that, I think, you know, it's a bit different. I think first one ever from Longford to go out, like if you're from a bigger county and maybe it's like you're coming back into a setup where, you know, will he be able to make it with Dublin or Kerry or whatever? It's, you know, more challenging from that side of things. And then you look at it from the flip side, you're coming back where there's a chance of winning All Ireland. So I never really looked at it that way. I think I probably was just focused on probably that naivety still, or that carefree, just wanted to play football and just go at it. Like, I think when I start, or when most people start to worry about what others think, or that's when you need to pull your head back in, that, you know, just do what you think is best for you and not worry about others. Because I think that's when it becomes tricky. You're overthinking things, and I think I would be an overthinker. You know, did I do this right? Or, you know, you're getting caught up in stuff that you can't really control. I think that's the tricky bit.
Yeah, because the reason I was sort of asking in around that was because I know myself, I would have lost a bit of identity, and I would have lost myself a little bit just as an intercounty footballer as a young man. And so obviously I just thought it might have been a bit more magnified coming from that achievement in that professional space to stepping back. But it strikes me as you seem to have had a good sense of who you are, that it was an adventure, that you enjoyed it, but that it was also, did it feel as if it was over and you were glad to be back home now? I
think so. I think it was kind of right. I wouldn't even say it's funny. I was going to say that was a chapter that I've moved on and that book is closed, but I still think it's not really closed in the fact that it's made me a better person, better player from it. But it was time to move on. I think probably coming back into the Longford setup then, with you had Glenn Ryan there and Podgy Davis were involved in management at the time, and I slotted straight into the team setup, and I think Glenn kind of had an idea of where he wanted me, so I had a kind of position.
Had you an idea of where you wanted to be?
Not a clue, no. Like obviously full forward, and that is the dream, to get back in there at some stage. But
even now, you'd like to get back in there, is it?
I'd like to give it a lash and see. But no, I think I came back and centre back from playing in the half back line out there in Australia.
Coming on to things.
Yeah, it suited me. But it kind of out round the middle. With an engine now, it's like I was fit. He has to be out around the middle, and it kind of helped. It helped with that. That, you know, from the very start, pre-season, that was kind of, I knew where I was looking at from the football side of things, what position, and even that my first year back in Ireland, that was my first full pre-season. And I haven't done a pre-season since, because just with college, with other clubs still going,
you did the full slog.
Yeah, it's just year to year. So I think that kind of helped too, that you had the pre-season building behind closed doors.
Do you know when you were saying about when you first went out to Australia and sort of that carefree abandon and the flair, that expression, carefree stuff? Do you get to do that again when you come home? Do you feel that, or do you feel expectation and pressure out of interest?
A bit of both. Like, it's kind of like, oh, what's he gonna do now? You know, you have that unexpectedness, but because you've been involved in such a high setup, you know, he should be doing the right thing the whole time. So, but I think it's your decision making really in football or sport. That's what you're doing. You know, I think what let me down at the very start was probably not being able to execute it. I think I knew what I wanted to do, but wasn't able to do it because of skills and that. But that came then with practice, and that's what I really enjoyed. Like, and I could see that. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just wasn't able to get there just yet. So that was
been able to see it as half the battle.
I think so.
So getting back, even something pulling on the Longford jersey at senior level, which is obviously something that would have been on your mind as a kid. With that, even though you'd said about soccer, you obviously would have thought that and considered that possibility growing up, would you?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So what was it like to do it then when you come home?
It was special. Like, it was something, like, I grew up going to games with Dad, Longford games, watching Paul Barden. And it was like he was the idol.
Class footballer.
He was, exactly. And I came back, and that was the big thing with my first year back. And I think he was one of the ones that would have helped me improve and become. We both got nominated for an All-Star that year.
That's 2012, isn't it?
Yeah. It was no coincidence. I was going out to training, marking him in training. I was coming in. He was after scoring 1-4 off me on a Wednesday night and giving me a skin on a Friday. I was going home. I even had chats with Glenn. I said, I don't think I'm a centre back, Glenn. I'm not sure about this. But then you go out on a Sunday, and I was motoring and going really well and doing well in the position. I was like, okay, you know, like, I appreciated what Paul was doing long before that. Yeah. But looking back on it now, it makes me realise, like, you know, he was the top of the top. Like, I was getting skinnings in training, but I started to realise, okay, well, that's Paul. Like, you know, am I going to come up against someone like that week in, week out? I'm not sure. So I think he made me better, and I hope that I probably helped him along the way in that year too. So
you're playing all that year, and obviously there's the O'Byrne Cup slog, and there's league as well. But even on championship, who'd you make your debut against?
It was actually Laois at home in Longford, and I think.
What's your memories of that day, or what's the feelings, emotions about that?
Yeah, it was a cracking day, and it was, I think, the first time we won a first round in Leinster in 4 or 5 years. Okay. So yeah, that was big, and we had a fantastic year in 2012, and that's the thing with sport. It was kind of like, oh, this is great. This is what it's like every year.
Yeah, that's what gets you.
Yeah, and. You know, this is it. Like, you win your county title and you're nominated for an All-Star, and you're getting to play 5-6 championship matches. Like, you know, next year we're going to push on. Like, but it just doesn't work that way. And that's the tricky thing.
Yeah, it's something, and you would talk to lads a lot about it. Like, that is, but frustration is probably the right word, because, like, let's just say we've been talking about AFL earlier on, so we can stick with that, and that, like, if you have a bad season, you can make trades, you can bring someone in. Yeah. We can say, oh, we haven't been getting much score, so we're going to bring this guy in, we're going to change this, we're going to change that. Like, it's obviously it's also what makes it really brilliant. Like, but has the GAA has that ever frustrated you at times as well over the last couple of years?
Oh, definitely. There's I think more so than it should. It is very frustrating. Like I need to see myself now, like you're kind of teaching now, and you're like, oh, get to the summer now, and I'll have that little bit more time. I'll do that few little extra bits. Like it's, you mentioned it before. It's time management. It's trying to juggle everything. Like it's great. Like being able to play and have a work and keep everything going. But are you getting the best out of yourself as a player, or in your work, or in your relationships with your family and that? You're coming home, you're dropping the gear bag off, or you're having dinner and you're out the door again. Like it's go. And to be actually able to sit down and relax and get that rest time. I think that's the thing with Gaelic football, being able to sit down and the rest and recovery. That's the only thing that's lacking in it to make it better, is players being able to see that, okay, we need to switch off and get away from it for a while, because between work and everything else, that's the tricky bit.
Yeah, the word balance is one. It's certainly something it took me a long time to find, and it's literally, I think it's come up in every podcast that we've done so far. And the most interesting thing that actually, because I've thought about this a lot over the last couple of weeks as I've had these conversations, is the most interesting thing is that everyone talks about balance, but everyone sort of finds it in a slightly different way. So there's no like, I can't, you couldn't give me a leaflet and say, here you go, Alan, there's how you have a balanced lifestyle, or I can't give that to you. You sort of have to learn it the hard way, like, don't you?
I think so, yeah. I think so. Like, it works for some people, having been real organised and having a schedule and been able to plan well in advance. But, we have a wedding coming up now in July, and, am I going to be able to, is the fixture list going to fall into place here now? Will I be able to go? And just, I can't commit that far ahead. We go off. Is
that one of the big frustrations, in contrast to, say, the AFL season, which would be very structured? It's penciled in, round 2, round 3, round 4, whatever, cup week, I don't know what, but like, it's very structured. There's your weeks off. You can have your life those 3 weeks, but then I need you here. Is that one of the most frustrating things that you find with it?
Yeah, I think maybe it's just myself too, that fear of commitment to something that you can't follow through on. We'll go away on holidays then and that weekend. Hold on a minute now, we have a game coming up, or that changed. Like, things do change, but that's the way it is, and you have to just get used to it and adapt. Like, ideally you'd love for that to change, but it's not going to change anytime soon. And it's frustrating. Yeah.
Have you given up on that changing anytime soon?
Yeah, I think so. Unless the kind of players step up and say, no, look, we need things to change, but I can't see it happening in the next year or two anyway.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's one of those things that all the lads talk about as well. Because it's trying to help with make it easier to find that balance, I suppose.
Yeah.
But also we've hit on one or two of the frustrations there, and I'll not let us go off on a big negative rant, because we'll be here for about an hour, me and you. But I suppose because I know, like, we spent quite a bit of time talking around like the spell in Australia, and I thank you for that, because I think there's a huge amount of learnings there, and even you clearly have taken a massive amount of perspective and understanding from it. But what's been for you, what's been the big positives of coming home and spending the last 5 years here and playing for your county, and how has there been positives? I presume it has.
Yeah, definitely. Jeez, it's like, there's something there being involved in different teams. Like, everyone talks about when you're young and just player burnout, and you're involved in so many different teams, and that's tough. He's playing for 5 or 6 different teams, but you're playing with different guys, like,
and you're playing for love as well.
Yeah, like you're meeting different guys there. Like, you're playing in college there in DCU now, and you're playing with guys from Dublin, Cork, Kerry, Laois. Like, you're playing for all these different counties that you're never going to get that chance in a different environment to play. Like, if you just settle and you're playing with Longford, you're just playing with the Longford guys. Like, playing with the different teams, like, you're still learning, and that's what I enjoyed. You have your club, your county, your college, You had Leinster, international rules. Like you're getting snippets from everywhere, and you're always learning and playing with different guys and picking up bits and pieces. And that's what I really enjoy with the Gaelic side of things. That you're always playing with different people and learning different bits and pieces.
Yeah, you get to it's massive for, I know networking is the business word, like, but actually just building a circle of people who you can have relationships with, that you can trust with.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the things that does often get overlooked, is in terms of all those different teams. But there's also from a personal perspective, never mind getting involved, not worrying about your body or your groins or anything like that, but actually your personal development. I think getting involved in those different circles socially is really beneficial for a person.
Definitely. Like when you sit down and watch a match on a Sunday and you're watching someone play, and watching with family or friends or whatever, and that fella, he's a fucking, I was like, he's not actually. He might be in the field, but it's actually
he's grand, like.
Skin, like, and you like actually watching people that you've built up, as you said, that network, and you've met people, and you kind of keep a close eye for each other, and you're like, just good game today or whatever, and you kind of still stay in contact, and you enjoy seeing people that you've played with do well and perform well.
I suppose moving away from the football and the sport and things, how is life for you now in general? Because we've talked about identity and balance. Where are you at, and what are you up to?
Yeah, it's as good as it's ever been. Engaged now, settling down, looking to build a house, doing all those things.
All those grown-up things.
All those grown-up things, yeah. When I talk, maybe it's not. I talk about naivety and carefree. Jeez, things are changing very quickly.
Where are we looking to build a house? In Longford?
Hoping in Longford and that. But yeah, look, I think I'm in a really good place. Good people around me. And that's, I'm enjoying that. It's exciting times. You go through different phases in your career, whether, when I came back, I was still young enough. I'm trying to think what age I was when I came back. 22, 23.
Yeah.
So I was still that kind of young player coming back, breaking into the senior team. But in the space of a year, you're a mature player. Because you have that experience, you're fast tracked to, he's one of the regulars. He's
the leadership role as well.
Leadership role. So, and I think I've had that for a long period because of the AFL. And I think I've enjoyed that. And I've enjoyed the next phase at the moment of young guys coming in, and I would say taking them in under the wing. But looking, that's what I was like when I first came in, and I enjoy that leadership role, or that kind of helping others and helping them along the way.
And taking those lessons that you've picked up from on the field and training and going away, do you feel that makes you a better teacher as you are? Because obviously you're qualified now and study. What are you teaching?
PE and maths. Yeah.
Do you feel that adds to you from that perspective?
I think so. I think between coaching, between just your experience, that you have a greater understanding and of the leadership role that you can offer to lads, and probably lads will, if you're teaching them, they will look up to you and listen. I suppose that is something that definitely does help when you're teaching, and I enjoy that. I enjoy kind of passing on what knowledge I have or what experience I have, because there's no point in, that's the way I used to do it, now I wouldn't do it. Like, you have something, if you have an experience there that you feel that will help someone else, or you've done it something this way, like between coaching and playing, that's something that I really enjoy. And I think I would and will hopefully get involved in the coaching side of things. I was helping out with Sigerson this year at the start of the year with DCU, and I really did enjoy it. It's tricky when you're still playing and you're playing with and against some of these guys. It makes it that little bit difficult. But it's something that I really enjoy doing. And it's tiring. It's as tiring as playing, but it's getting that reward out of it. I think there's still a similar enough reward out of coaching as playing. It mightn't be the exact same thing or the same buzz, but I think you'd have to get it from somewhere.
One of the questions that I did want to ask you on the teaching aspect was, because I know Sean Cavan was in the papers a couple of weeks ago saying that he was concerned that GA players are attracted to teaching just to help suit their playing. And I suppose, is teaching something you see yourself at long term, or do you see it as a stepping stone? Or how do you feel about that? I suppose, to wrap that into one question, how do you feel about that cliche that GA players just become teachers because it's handy to play?
I think there is that that aspect to it. I think she's definitely, whether it be half of players that get involved in teaching or get involved because of the convenience and the summers off or the holidays. But I don't know. I think I have that love to probably teach and help others, and as you said, help others be the best they can be or improve. Whether it be in a football side of things or in the classroom, or even away from it, kind of just sitting down and having a chat with someone and helping them out. That's something that I really enjoy, and it's probably part of my identity that I like to do. So for me, it definitely isn't like it's convenient, yeah, definitely after that. But like, I enjoy working with others and helping, and second after that, it does help. Like, whether I can see myself in teaching, for until I'm 65 or that, I don't know. I think there'll be a few hairs pulled out by then, but it definitely be involved in helping others in some shape or form.
Yeah, I think like the big thing of that one is that it's not as if you're in a job going on just doing this because it just suits me for now, and you're grinding your teeth going, I don't want to be here. Like, you like it, and it suits for lots of different. If it's helping other people, if it is for training and during the summers off and all, but there is there's enjoyment there as well. I think is really important.
Oh, there has to be. Like, if there wasn't, you wouldn't have that balance. Like, that we've talked about. You're turning up for a job that you don't really want to be there.
It's not healthy.
And you're expected to turn around in the evening and go and train and play well. It doesn't work that way. You kind of have to have a happy balance off the field. And I think Gaelic players, and even through the GPA and through the top teams, that's something that is starting to really, guys are starting to understand.
Definitely is.
And I think more people are stepping away from jobs that they're not happy in. They're not just settling for, I'm getting paid, it's a job, I'll get through it, it'll, pay the bills. That, if you're not happy in what you're doing, try and do something about it. And I think that's something that I think people are, especially Gaelic footballers, are starting to realise that kind of need to do that rather than settling for a job for the sake of football or other reasons.
Yeah, that's for me. That's a brilliant point that you've just touched upon, because I think a lot of lads are livening up to that fact, and most of the lads that have been on the podcast so far do fall into that calibre where they've done something and said, no, actually, I want to do something else. And for a while, so when I was younger, I would have, and you can counter argue this or feel free to push back as well, because I wanted to be a professional sportsman as well, so soccer was the thing as well. I was like, I'm going to try and do that. But then I suppose you fall into Gaelic football, fall in love with it, you get exposed to all these highs and different opportunities and different things. It was great, really added to my life. And then as a young man in my 20s, you go, I'd love this to be professional, like this to be class, was professional. Yeah. But I'm actually, I've sort of come full circle, and I'd just be interested in your perspective on it, because you've sampled two different sides of the pond as well. And that, I think, as Gaelic footballers, particularly with the supports of the GPA, which have helped so many of the lads that are out playing at the moment and that haven't, that have finished playing, I actually think we get the best of both worlds in a way. Yeah. I think we get to play in front of big crowds. I think we get to represent big teams, to be on telly, to do the media networking side, to meet loads of different people, to play high level sport. But also that while all that's going on, if you're tuned in and if you sort of waking up that other fire in you, you can also be very successful off the field too. And that's something I've come full circle on it, and I really appreciate it. And I'm way over to you here this morning. I was listening to a podcast myself, and it was Niall Quinn was talking to Richie Sadlier on the second captain's players interview, and it was brilliant. And he talked about that transition out, that he needed someone. He said he wished someone had gotten 3 years before he finished. Right. And it just got me thinking that, well, I've actually been able to do this when I'm in the middle of it. Yeah. And things are going really well. It's something I've learned to really appreciate, and I don't think you appreciate it when you're younger. And I just thought I'd put that to you in terms of what your take on that is, and how would you feel on that point. Yeah, like, I think that it's what you're saying. It's spot on, because I think to go out and play a game on a Sunday, and a championship game, media, TV or whatever else, and then
Monday morning you're in the classroom and you're teaching, and you're tired and you're battered and bruised, but it's kind of like Superman. You take off the clothes, out you go. That's it. You're double job, like, and that does add to it. It's like, there he is walking down the street. He was playing in front 80,000 the other day for the big county players. I think that's the culture, or whatever you want to call it, with the GAA, that it's I think that's what makes it that little bit special. That you're not untouchable. Gaelic players aren't untouchable. I think that's the difference in probably your soccers. I think you look at the Premiership, there is that. If you saw someone buying a litre of milk in the shop, a soccer player, you're like, oh wow, he drinks milk, like. Whereas Gaelic footballers, you just see them out doing their thing, like, and it's normal. I think that's something that's special about it, and whether I don't think the professional side of things, you're missing out on that. Like, if you went solely focused on your playing career, the rest would suffer from, your career away from sport. So by having that balanced lifestyle and juggling both, it's something that if you can do it and get your time management and your head in order on and off the pitch, which it's easier said than done. Like, that's the toughest thing to get that first. Is the hardest thing. But if you're able to do both, there's nothing better.
Well, I literally was just gonna ask you that point, and that, because I said I feel grateful that we have it. That's not to say that it was easy or it's hard to find. And I just think in terms of the GPA and the work they're doing, I wouldn't have been able to do it without those supports. In terms of if it's life coaching, and I know one of the big things I took from the conversation with Noah Connors last week is he talked about that, the going to it. If it's a business coach, a lifestyle coach, whatever you want, then I think the phrase he said was like sitting down with someone who just didn't give a fiddlers about hurling, like, and it was just like about him, what he was interested in, what he wanted to do, what he liked, but away from the other side. And have you benefited from that process as well, just out of interest?
I think so. Like, even just benefiting from talking to someone about, as you said, not football or not hurling, that you're actually talking about, you as a person, what are you good at? I'm good at kicking off my right foot. No, what are you good at? Like, what do you like? And that's something I like to help others, or I like to, I like the coaching and teaching side of things. I like talking and chatting, catching up with people, not just, if I turn on my right foot, I'm really good at doing this. Like, the football side of things, when you can get past that and put that aside, that, there's more to Gaelic football players than just that. And that's when you start to really enjoy. There was a guy in the club in Australia, and it was like, if you get your life in order off the field, the rest will come on field. And it's kind of like, grand. Yeah. But when you start to realise, it sounds good, doesn't it? But it's so true.
It's so true, like.
And the more you kind of go on in your career, the more you realise that. And that's the thing, whereas usually most people put it the other way around, and I put my hand up, and I think I'm the other way around at the moment, and I probably need to strike the balance going the other way, looking at my career away from football rather than football career. That when you focus more on that, the football side of things will kind of fall into place from there.
Yeah, because it takes me, as you said, that actually takes me all the way back to when you said about the third season where you're getting caught up in the tactics and you're overthinking it. Whereas for me, the reason sport was invented was to play it, was like to express yourself, to have fun, to play on the edge, to kick scores if you wanted it, to get tackles. And I do think that we can get caught up in that.
Yeah.
In that cycle a little bit. And it's just, again, I go back to last week's episode with Noel. He mentioned about just getting back to enjoying it, and lads enjoy different things in different parts of the game. And just following off what you said there around when someone says to you what you're good at, because I think particularly as sports people, we can get caught up in, if you're good at something, keep doing it because it feeds your ego. People tell you you're really good at it, and because people tell you you're good at it, I'll keep doing that because I'm good, and I get claps in the back. But sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. And I think that's the enjoyable part. Like by being pushed and trying different things and new things, that's the fun part, rather than playing to structures or why not try something different? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's spot on. Like I think you kind of get caught up on that. Trying different things, like that's what it's all about. Giving it a lash, and if you can hold up your hand and say, "Look, I tried that, it didn't work," rather than focusing on your result or look, we lost by a point because I went away from the structure. I tried doing this, and you shouldn't have done that. You're always going to do that, but no, definitely.
One of the last questions I was just going to finish up on, Michael, was obviously, I think you're still only 27, but I think you've had fantastic life experience from all different avenues and just different takes and different environments that you've been in. Is there sort of a big lesson or something that you've learned along the way that you take with you that sort of informs the sort of core of you now and where you're at and where you're hoping to go?
From looking back on it, you're going to pick up little things along the way the whole time. Like just being open to try different things and just listen, really. Like probably going out and taking up a new sport and asking questions and just feeding off other people's knowledge, rather than sometimes you go through phases like, oh, why is he doing this? I think, oh, I do it this way.
Yeah.
I know better. Like,
and that's ego and that's pride and that stuff as well. Yeah,
that comes in like, oh, geez, I'm not sure about that. I'd be setting up something like this, and that's when you start to think, oh, no, step back, get out of that kind of coaching mentality that you're still a player. Like, buy into it and learn from other people's knowledge. And I think that's what I found I really enjoy. Or when you play your best football is when you're feeding off others. How many years left playing intercounty? It's tough the way things are going. I think that age is slowly dropping. If you're playing intercounty at 30, you're doing something right or something wrong.
There's only There's only a few still over at this stage.
Yeah. So, you're looking and thinking, geez, could I keep doing this now for another few years? Like it does become harder the older you get. I think the younger guys are definitely find it an easier environment to be in because you probably don't have as many ties.
So the last question I have for you then is around, because even though I've heard like it's coming at that time of year where there's leaving searches and there's exams and stuff. And you'll hear the stories of parents saying like, you're not allowed to play that now for the next 2 or 3 months. You're not allowed to do this. I suppose just finished on a positive note in terms of sport. Do you feel that's had a strong or positive influence on you as a person and your life and where you're at now? Is that something that you felt and that you appreciate?
Massively. Like, I think there is even I see from the teaching side of things, a focus on just one particular sport. Like, I think that's what I can always look back and say, I've free taken off the ground when I was younger. I think that came from help from soccer background. You pick things up by tackling from AFL or high catch, and by playing different sports, whatever sport you choose in the long run, you're gonna learn from that. Like a bit of basketball there as well. Like, I think there's probably a focus now to specialise in sports from an earlier age. Like, and
do you think it's gone too young?
Definitely, yeah. Like, you see guys at the moment, like even county minor, like probably you want to be specialising from 16, 17 on. But before that, what's wrong with playing basketball on Monday, Gaelic on a Wednesday, and something else on a Friday, soccer
and
on
enjoying
Friday.
it along the way.
And enjoying it, like your in-game situations, helping you make decisions, helping you basketball with your handling, soccer with your footwork, Gaelic with your catching and kicking. Why not? gymnastics or whatever else. Like, that's probably the teacher really coming out of me now. But I really believe that you're going to improve as a sports person in whatever field you pick by doing that. And probably I think I would have definitely, personally.
Listen, out, we've been talking for the guts of an hour there, a little bit over, but just to wrap up things, obviously just want to first of all thank you for your time.
No, thanks very much.
Thank you for your honesty and sharing a lot of those insights and lessons that you have. I think it's an amazing perspective that people will take an awful lot from, and one of the big things I'm always discovering is life lessons you pick up from sport or from whatever tends to carry across to other areas.
Yeah.
And just thank you for sharing that. Wish you the best of luck for the season ahead. So now we're coming into the busy time and the sunshine's coming out and the ground's hardening, and I'm looking forward to seeing your white boots again. And, but no, wish you best of luck on the pitch, but also best of luck off the pitch as well. I think you're very interesting perspective and take on things, very interesting personality, and I've absolutely no doubt, be it coaching, teaching, whatever you go to do going forward, that you're going to make a good fist of it. So thanks again for your time, and we'll talk to you further down the line.
Thanks a million, Alan. Really appreciate that. Cheers.
Thanks a million.
Ever since I started the Real Talks podcast series, this was one conversation I immediately hoped to have. And I want to thank Michael for his honesty and time, and indeed for sharing many of the lessons he has picked up on such a remarkable journey. Make sure you don't miss out on any future episodes by heading over to realtalks.ie to subscribe to the show. Or just search for Real Talks on whatever platform you are listening on today. There you can also find previous episodes with the likes of Tipperary's Brendan Maher, Dublin's Kevin McMenamin, Armagh's Jamie Clarke, and Offaly's Niall McNamee. If you want to get in touch, you can get me on Twitter at AOMTheCat or through Real Talks IRL. And once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Kelly Bradshaw Dalton, for supporting this podcast. Check out their website at kbd.ie for all your property needs. My name is Alan O'Mara, and you've been listening to an episode of the Real Talks podcast.